It's not every day you see the Beastmen get kited, but here we are in this replay from the Vermin League. We have swooped in on the bracket of Skarbrand versus Attack Speed Enjoyer. Attack Speed Enjoyer here taking the Beastmen bravely into Skarbrand's absolutely insane Tzeentch kite build here, so we'll get to that in just a moment. Of course, if you're enjoying the videos, be sure to like. Always appreciate a like, comment, subscribe, all that fun stuff, but we are currently in the midst of casting replays for the Vermin League Chieftain Playoffs Season 8, so get excited for that. Yeah, Beastmen versus Tzeentch. Let's take a look. Of course, first game of a best-of-3 series between these two, and it does look like Beastmen galore. Lots and lots of infantry, and probably regretting not taking more Centaurs or other mobility at this point. Skarbrand has brought quite the kite build. He's got an Exalted Flamer for some poking, Chaos Knights for heavy hitting, and some Furies as well for some screen, Kairos Fate Weavers for more poke and cackles and schemes, Knights of Immolation up in the sky for another elite here. We've got some Marauder Horsemen, of course, and that's basically the entire build. There's a mix of Beastmen infantry, as mentioned. Ungor Spearman Herd. We've got Bestigor and Pestigor. And Zangors as well. All the types of gores. Any Corngors? Actually, don't see any. No Pestigors either, but yeah, Centaurs, only a couple. Probably not enough to do what he's going to need to do. Ungor Raiders for some ranged support here. But yeah, Skarbrand coming in wild. See if he can pull this off. Definitely the very rare Beastmen getting kited. Just because Beastmen have such a strong mobility presence, going for something like this is incredibly risky. I don't know, maybe Skarbrand felt that he could pull it off even if Beastmen went very heavy. Centaurs, hard to say, but some quick hit and run charges in the front line from the Chaos Knights. Of course, Beastmen are fast enough even to get some hits on them as they're retreating, but not too much, not even enough to break through the barrier necessarily. We also got some Melkoth's Mystifying Miasma, or Flock of Doom, rather, from good old Malagor. It looks like some Ungor Raider Fire coming in as well, breaking the barrier of those Tzeentch Furies. But the few Centaurs that remain need to be very careful not to get too separated out. Ungor Raiders to get bombed there and are going to get chased off. But basically, the whole thing for the Beastmen is they need to stay together, stay high and tight, and really work off of these Ungor Raiders as much as possible. Try and respond whenever Tzeentch gets close. Here we see the Furies in kind of an all-in to try and take out some of these Ungor Raiders. The best scores will be able to turn around and get some damage, no problem. But some Vortexes being unleashed there from Kairos. Looked like he got the best contact with that, but a little bit of damage nonetheless. And Beastmen are doing a good job, at least with this side of the army, of just staying together, you know, continuing to apply pressure and not, not get too spread out here. But the Chaos Knights taking some damage as they just try and continuously pull away from the Centaurs. The Exalted Flamer, a super interesting choice here, I gotta say. He's pretty quick, 48 speed. Means he can stay out in front of these Beastmen infantry without too much issue. But let's see. Yeah, really nice volley into a big blobbed up unit, bunch of units here. It's a bunch of Ungor Spearmen, Pestigors, and whatnot. Really, really good contact there. But already we can see, like, this side of the Beastmen army getting drawn a little bit out of position. And Skarbrand, I don't know if I've ever actually seen him execute like a full mobility kite like this before, so it's very interesting for sure. Yeah, the Marauder Horsemen get some good shots in. Of course, they don't necessarily want to just stand in direct trade with the Ungor Raiders, but ooh, Kairos thought about jumping on a quick tear route there, decided against it. Probably for the best. But we do see some Flock of Doom coming out here. On those Furies, doing some really nice damage. Knights of Immolation still just barely getting their barrier broken, but will start taking some damage in this engagement unless they're able to skedaddle on out of there. Exalted Flamer also really hasn't had a ton of opportunities to set up and shoot, which is a good thing for the Beastmen. But yeah, Marauder Horsemen also kind of just tangling out here and getting very, very spread out indeed. But this is going to work in Tzeentch's favor. Kairos finally does decide to land there, maybe for a quick tear route. He does have the follow-up of the Knights nearby to apply some shock damage. So the combination of these two should be enough to break these two units of Ungor Raiders. Skarbrand definitely paying attention to his win conditions right now. Looking like, okay, since my opponent doesn't have a ton of mobility, the only other thing that can really threaten to kind of counter-punch or counter-poke even is these Ungor Raiders. So really nice priority for him to come in and shut them down, leaving primarily only melee infantry left for the Beastmen army. Going to make it very tough for them to get any meaningful engagements, as Skarbrand will be able to just continue circling around, charging between different units, trying to spread things out. But there is quite a bit of meat left on this bone. Like, these Chaos Knights here have taken quite a bit of damage, and there's still so many Bestigor and Pestigor. Lots of armor-piercing infantry. Kairos unleashing some magic, trying to even up the score here a little bit. And certainly with that triple vortex of Tzeentch's Firestorm, should be able to clear out quite a bit of infantry, maybe even infinite infantry, perhaps. But let's see. Marauder Horseman coming in for another attack run here. Malagor using his speed a little bit to try and pressure the Chaos Knights. They're going to charge into this big, healthy block of infantry. Actually doesn't do a ton of damage, but let's see if they quickly pull away. Yep, looks like they're going to. And Knights of Immolation dropping some bombs. Will do some pretty decent damage. Nothing too crazy. The blob wasn't super tight there. I actually don't know if that was 100% worth it. I don't know. Maybe getting the damage on the Ungor Spearman Herd. Be able to get rid of those support units. So that these Bestigor are a little bit more exposed, but Tzeentch Army ability unleashed over here is going to do a tiny bit of damage, but Beastmen do a really nice job of avoiding that. So, I mean, despite the army pick sort of really going against him, Attack Speed Enjoyer has been doing a nice job of trying to weather the damage as best he can. He does still have some Ungor Raiders alive, and just the volume of armor-piercing infantry here, it's still going to be scary for Skarbrand to deal with. He ultimately doesn't have a lot of bodies on the field, so let's see how it goes. But still plenty of AoE damage potential from the Exalted Flamer. Gets some brutal contact there on the Bestigor, and those like kind of vortexes that continue to spawn out from its shots. So a lot of work as the Beastmen try and advance through them, so pretty tough there for that particular unit of Bestigor, but ultimately it is just one unit of Bestigor. Let's see if the Exalted Flamer ends up using up too much ammunition here, but right now the balance power really not liking Tzeentch's odds. Knights of Immolation are going to charge in, sensing these Ungors without any melee support. They can get in there and shut them down in a big hurry. Kairos also basically untouched in terms of his HP at this point, so yeah, there we go. With everything all spread out like this, even these weakened Chaos Knights, they can come get a plowing charge, and then just immediately pull away. Very, very tough for the Beastmen to deal with, given what they have on the field. Ungor Raiders get inundated by the Marauder Horsemen here. Knights of all types. Marauder Horsemen just uniting to take out those Beastmen infantry. Over here, this unit of Chaos Knights has been broken. So even despite, you know, having quite a bit of success, Tzeentch is still taking some losses as they pursue these objectives. But let's see here. Kairos coming over, looking to potentially unleash some more vortices. Yeah, Harmonic Convergence also was brought here, but I doubt it will see much use, given that Kairos really just needs to put as much AoE damage out as possible. So let's fast forward a little bit through this mid to late game. Ooh, Malagor did get a few good hits on the Exalted Flamer there, applying some really nice pressure with the tools that he does have. Also, beautiful Flock of Doom. Able to get quite a few units on that. This does get the barrier off. Fortunately, there's no Ungor Raiders to, not routed, at least to shoot in, kind of capitalize on that broken barrier, but Malagor staying consistent, trying to get hits and see if he can't force this Exalted Flamer to disintegrate. It is quite low on health and leadership at this point. Has a few more volleys left, but it looks like he's going to try and expend it before he goes down. Nice screening with the Knights of Immolation as well. Malagor doesn't want to stand and fight against them too long, but does have infantry support to at least force them away, so Look like he'll get trapped here. Not that he got trapped anyway, but there's the vortex. Tzeentch's firestorm going to be unleashed once more. Does have a pretty long windup, but given that the 3 vortexes kind of move in different random directions, we'll end up doing some pretty good damage as it kind of just sits on top of these units a little bit. It wasn't the most ideal pathing, but pretty good pathing overall, definitely, for those units together. Knights of Immolation supporting Kairos, who's definitely going to have to get involved in some more melee at this point to try and finish things off. Yeah, the Bestigors struggling. Are there even any Pestigors left? No. It's like they're all Bestigors pretty much. One Pestigor over there. But quite a bit of cavalry as well. These Marauder Horsemen have basically used up all their ammunition, so they can start to help in melee, and just through sheer weight and volume be able to take some of these weakened infantry units out. Flock of Doom, upgraded Flock of Doom even, does catch quite a bit of damage off these Marauder Horsemen. Nice to use that kind of as they're trying to engage in melee. Even that Exalted Flamer taking enough damage from it that it's like almost sending him into disintegration. So Tzeentch, I mean, besides Kairos, kind of teetering on the knife's edge a little bit here. Can't afford to take too much damage, and these Sandgors actually have basically full health at this point, plus that barrier. It's going to take some damage from a volley. And a little Tzeentch army ability as well comes in, bombards that unit of Bestigors. This regular Ungor herd aren't going to be able to stand up too well, although, yeah, I mean, they fight back okay against these Marauder Horsemen in the late game. But Malagor we're going to try and charge in. Kairos also charges in to counter him. Chaos Knights have a little bit of HP left, and it is enough, just barely, to help almost carry this engagement, but a devastating Flock of Doom comes in. I say devastating right as that is happening. Really nice placement there. Malagor's just getting absolutely abused by Kairos. And we're going to see a little harmonic convergence on Kairos himself as he tries to finish off. And yep, with Malagor being gone, that's going to quickly lead to army losses. So absolutely mad game from Skarbrand. I know some people don't like to watch Kite, but I have to say it's quite impressive to be able to pull it off, especially against a faction like Beastmen. And from attack speed enjoyer's perspective, I kind of get what he was going for here. Trying to not just get halberd checked and bring in maybe something a little different, but ultimately just really didn't have the mobility he needed. Even just like swapping out, I don't know, maybe one Pestigor or maybe all 3 of these marked infantry for more Centaurs. Obviously hindsight 2020, but just to have a little bit more mobility to try and tango here would have definitely been advantageous, but ultimately put up a very good fight, all things considered. Army imbalance was pretty significant, but attack speed enjoyer was able to hold his own there. And yeah, Kairos gets some pretty good value. Chaos Knights actually mostly screening force here, don't get a ton of raw value themselves. Marauder Horsemen do a nice job contributing, and then also the Exalted Flamer gets some good damage in there as well. And a lot of it comes down to just leadership issues as well. Beastmen are one of those armies that, because they're relatively low leadership, if their units do get isolated, it's quite easy to break them and take them out. So tough stuff there. A few units across the board are going to pay for themselves, but definitely just kind of a bloody and brutal battle overall. Then, in Game 2, Skarbrand's defensive naval build was able to overcome attack speed enjoyer's Khorne rush led by Valkia, and with that 2-0 victory, Skarbrand moves on to the next level of the tournament. Hopefully you guys are enjoying these. If you are, be sure to like the video, comment below, share with a friend. Thank you so much for watching. We'll see you next time.